that they've suppressed because they've been so busy, because they've been overwhelmed, because they've been spending the last 10 years trying to prove something to someone in this business, and they haven't really been aligned with the work they're doing. They built a cage, whatever the thing is.
The greatest way to scale is actually building relationship with people. And you're 1 or 2 relationships away or intros away, getting whatever you need.
And I was like, this isn't the right thing for me anymore. And I was like, refund everybody. So I was like, oh man, we're going to have to make cuts. How are we going to survive this?
Welcome to the Extra Room Podcast. My host, Maylee Nelson. And today we have Liz Hartke as a guest. We're honored to have you. And by the way, we are here at an Extra Room event. You can kind of see we're at Club Paddock. You can see the cars in the background. Such a cool setting. And you're all the way out from East Coast, so it's an honor to have you here.
I'm really honored to be here.
Oh my gosh, Liz, this is going to be so much fun. And I heard we have a sneak peek of a preview of a book drop. Want to tell us a little bit about that? Exclusive for the
Yeah, let's talk about that up front.
Yeah, sure. So coming this fall, the exclusive is that we're telling the title here, real time. It's called Your Big Next, and it's our book for entrepreneurs and founders, helping them really tap into how to leverage their business to live out their calling in their life, making sure it all aligns and they live and honor the values that they're here to live.
What's the biggest key for an entrepreneur to do that? I mean, there's probably people watching this that are like, okay, I'm in a job and I really have this thing and the entrepreneur journey's calling me. What's the steps to get there for someone like that?
For me, step one is discernment. So there are a lot of things in the world of leadership and growth that feel really elusive, right? Like if I just say, you just have to discern what it is. You're like, great, that's super helpful. If I could have done that, I would have already done that. So we have built tools to make that process more tangible for entrepreneurs and founders. So we actually have a matrix that we walk people through to help them actually put their real life, the work that they're currently doing through this matrix and determine and discern. Am I doing the work that I'm really called to do? Am I doing what's just been habitual? Am I doing what just brings in the money? Am I doing what I've just always done? And this is just like I'm on an autopilot at this point. And really be able to lean into what are my innate gifts that only I can do the way that I do them? What are the patterns that have been placed on my heart continuously in recent past that just keep coming up and bubbling to the surface that I just keep squashing down because I don't have time for them? I'm at max capacity. I'm juggling too much. And then what are the things that align with the corner of the market I really want to make an impact with? And sometimes that's a pivot for people, which is scary because the people who are already successful are the ones that feel like they can't make any changes because they're like, I have to keep this machine well oiled. I got to pay
employees,
payroll, and I got to take care of things. I don't have the capacity or the time. And we just keep telling ourselves someday. And I think my argument is that, it's not a unique one. Someday is not guaranteed. What's the cost of playing small or safe, and what is on the other side of risk that will really help you tap into the life you were actually meant to live.
Years ago, I took this college class that was recreation management. I had a credit to burn, and it included a field trip, and one of the stops was this massive water park. And the guy comes out and talks to us, and he said his great-grandpa was an accountant, great-grandpa an accountant, his grandpa all the way down to his dad and his brothers were all accountants, and he was going into college to become an accountant like everyone else. And he decided that he didn't want to take that path, and he decided he was going to do water parks instead. So if he met with his family, imagine generations of this, met with his family is like, I want to do water parks instead of that. And of course, they actually put a chair in the room, did a full-on intervention and said, hey, you're going to die, you're going to starve, you can't do this. And he still, despite all of the people around him, he still moved forward with it. And he became one of the greatest designers of water parks. And his whole point is once you love something, you follow that path, and you'll never work again, and you'll actually be more successful.
You will. And that's the thing. That's what bears fruit. It's like we're where we are now. We dropped the pen. This is our reality. We're juggling this business or managing this business, whatever. And we're like, I want the guarantee. I want the reassurance. I want the unknown to become known before I take the risk. And my argument for the big next is it's not just the next logical goal. I'm not just talking about like, what's the 5-year vision? I'm saying, what are you called to do? And one of the indicators of knowing you're on the right track is that your closest advisors, the people that love you, that you have granted access to you because there's trust, raise an eyebrow when you bring it to them. They're not like, oh yeah, let's go. They're like, are you sure?
That's part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, like the world at large is going to think you're nuts, but they already do because you're an entrepreneur. You're already pursuing the unconventional. But it's when the people closest to you are like, I don't get it yet. Like, help me understand. And then you're like, okay, I know that's kind of an indicator of, okay, I'm onto a calling here.
Interesting.
Right. I think that, right, we were talking earlier before we started the podcast, and it's this idea of, entrepreneurs are wearing too many hats.
Yes.
And so for you, I feel like that's really important to you, is to help them recognize that they can't be working on or in their business. They really need to have a zoomed out version of themselves to be able to look at their business. So can you tell me a little bit about what that looks like if you're, from the journey of somebody that's like, oh my gosh, I'm literally inside grinding. I'm wearing all the hats. I'm the marketing director. I'm the designer. Toilets. Right. Like, I'm doing all of the things. How do you get someone to say, because they're terrified that they'll lose so much money.
Yeah.
They're terrified that if they're not the ones doing it, small business mindset, right? Where it's like, if I'm not doing it, it can't be done.
Mm-hmm. We shifted our entire business model several years ago to fulfill on this promise to founders, because we realized we were doing a ton of business strategy. I was telling you that before. And every single person, without exception, the founder was ultimately, they weren't capped by their strategy or their know-how. They were ultimately bottlenecked by themselves. There was some block in themselves. So a lot of the work we do is to take busy entrepreneurs from busy entrepreneur, overwhelmed entrepreneur into visionary CEO. So this is not just how do you do the CEO kind of activities. It is the unlocking of the founder. It's like, what is in them that they've suppressed because they've been so busy, because they've been overwhelmed, because they've been spending the last 10 years trying to prove something to someone in this business, and they haven't really been aligned with the work they're doing. They built a cage, whatever the thing is. And how do we help them have the courage and the clarity of that calling, and then really step into that visionary CEO seat? So a lot of it is, a lot of people talk about time management. I like to look at it from a perspective of energy management. I've got a lot of kids. We homeschool. We run multiple families. Yeah. I'm pregnant with our 6th.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also heard it here first. I haven't fit that out into the world yet, but I can't really hide the bump anymore.
All right.
And my husband and I are at what we would consider capacity. So what we have to do is leverage our energy. And that's what a visionary CEO does. They say, okay, what is the small block of the day where I'm most intensely inspired? I have the most natural energy. I have the most clarity of focus. That is the time I'm going to do the most high leverage things I possibly can for my business. And it's narrowed down to like 1 or 2 things. It's not 10. It's like, I know that when I do this thing, it creates an unproportionate positive return on my time and my energy and my focus. And I'm going to do those things first every single time. So we have something we call the efficiency block, which is all the crap you normally do. Like when you open your email first thing, or you start responding and reacting to your day, that gets condensed into a 30-minute block at the end of your day. And you do not touch it until that block, you have that a lot of time. And everything else is visionary stuff, like CEO stuff that is going to drive the business forward. And what that also does is give the founder the realization of like, oh, this actually works.
Sure.
Like, I can make massive leaps in my career. I don't have to stay here. And that's something my husband always says to us when we're in a tough season, because we've been there, where he's like, Liz, we don't have to stay here. We get to decide what this looks like. We might have to like fight through it. It might not be pretty, but we don't have to stay here. We're never trapped. And that's the message I want to keep getting back to people is, you're never trapped. And everything has been of value if you use it and leverage it properly up to this point. And then what are you going to do with it from here?
Tell us about a time that you felt like you were trapped, or a hard moment for you running a business. And you kind of mentioned one with being a mom, busy mom, and trying to run a business. But what are the hard things for you? And what advice would you have for the people that feel like they're trapped like that?
I've gone through many seasons where I've just become overwhelmed. And I'm finally at a point where I realize overwhelm is definitely a state of mind. It's not like a reality of your circumstances or your schedule. Because I've had seasons where my schedule has been jammed, but it's been the right things and the aligned things and the energy producing things. And I'm like, give me more, I can handle it. And then I've had seasons where I have had like nothing but menial crap on my schedule and I feel overwhelmed because I'm not lit up or whatever. And a little over a year ago, we were pregnant with our 5th. And at 17 weeks, we found out there was no heartbeat anymore after everything was totally fine. And I delivered our son at home and immediately started hemorrhaging. And by the time I got into the hospital, and there were a lot of, we lived in this tiny little town in Wisconsin, and we ended up at this county hospital on a Sunday morning where they're not staffed. It was bad. They couldn't find my blood type match for a transfusion, and it was a disaster. So I ended up losing over 60% of my blood volume, which usually around 40%, it's catastrophic. So it was a lot of miracles in that room that day. But what happened was I was forced into a pruning season. I got home, I couldn't lift my head up off the pillow. I couldn't get myself to the bathroom. It was a very humbling plus I was grieving. I was devastated.
Right.
And everything was wiped from my calendar and my life. My team, thank God, is wonderful, and they picked up the ball. But it also taught me, wow, they're capable of a lot more than I've given them credit for. But that season really taught me how to focus and realign on what actually matters. And I said to my husband, after surgery and a couple days later when I came to, I was like, I am not spending another minute of my life or my time on anything that God's not calling me to in this life, period. Because I don't know, I had no idea how close I could be, like to leaving my kids or not having the chance to do the things that were someday things for me that felt really big. And that's when I started writing the book. It inspired everything, but I needed that shake up to see that I wasn't practicing what I preached. I teach this stuff. I run masterminds on this stuff. I work with clients on this stuff, but it doesn't always mean you don't fall back into the trap of bad habits.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that was a humbling moment and a redirect. We ended up refunding well over $100,000 because after that, we had launched a program. We had already sold it prior to this incident. And I was like, this isn't the right thing for me anymore. And I was like, refund everybody. So I was like, oh man, we're going to have to make cuts. How are we going to survive this? Within 2 months after I kind of came back into the picture, doors started opening for us that I had been trying to strong arm my way through for years.
So powerful.
And we ended up doing 5 times the profit we had ever done in the last year by getting on the right path.
Yeah.
So it's a reminder to everybody, you can get through anything. You'll be covered in the grace to be able to handle it if you believe that you're capable of pushing through really hard things. And if you look for the opportunities of perspective that are often only granted in the most miserable times in life, but they're the greatest gift, you'll be just talk about up-leveling. You'll just be a new version of yourself that can,
So powerful.
you expand your capacity.
I love that. Something that I kind of live by and I preach, top of the rooftops if I can, is I think the true version of real happiness, that sheer bliss that just lights your soul on fire, actually can only come from going through a challenge.
Yeah.
Like you can't possibly see on the other side until you're through it. Then when you're through it, it's like, I overcame this incredible thing. I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to just, there's no way we were going to get through it. But then all of a sudden you do. And then just magic really does happen because you did level up. You forced your way through it and you didn't give up. And so, right, people give up every day. And that's the life of an entrepreneur. Like you give up.
Right.
Don't give up.
Right.
You will never fail as long as you just keep plunging forward.
One of my most resilient friends is Maylee. She's gone through that. You were at one point in a wheelchair.
Right.
For how long?
9 months.
Oh my.
9 months.
Yeah. So yeah, 100% perspective. Like it changed my life forever.
Yeah.
Right. It puts you back in alignment to really understand what's important.
Yeah. But you have to choose it though, right? Because people go through bad shit all the time.
Yeah.
And they don't do anything with it. They're still miserable. They're still focusing on how they were a victim or whatever. So like you have to actively choose, despite your pain, to claim the good in it.
Yeah.
Every day, right? Got to choose it. You got to choose the hard.
Yeah.
The life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's something we did. I did an event here a couple weeks ago, and the question we had 20 people here, and the question is what was something that was extremely hard for you? And hindsight turns out to be blessings. And I think both of your stories is like you use this in something super hard you never want to experience again, super hard, but how many blessings you receive from something like that. And in hindsight, you're like, wow, so many more doors open that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And the point is the pursuit, because I became a different version of myself, not on purpose. I wasn't like personal growth time. It was just like I was suffering. And in that suffering, you meet growth, a version of yourself that you didn't know existed. And so naturally, those doors didn't open by luck or chance or what. It was that, oh, I was now the person who was prepared for that door to open. Had it opened for me 6 months prior, a year, 10 years prior, the door would have ended up slamming in my face anyway, because I wasn't who I needed to be to step through it.
Yeah.
You have to become more, right? Like that's, I feel like yesterday I was on another podcast and that was the question that I get most often is, if you feel stuck, how do you know how to get to the next level? Like, what do you do? Well, I'll show up at the X room. I feel like that's the first thing I come get on the podcast. But surround yourself with like-minded people, because I don't think that most people know the right question to even ask.
Yeah.
Like they're so in the weeds and they're not hiring a coach. They're not hiring someone to zoom out and look at broader perspective like yourself, right?
They're on an island.
Yeah.
They feel like they're by themselves.
Yeah, which allows you to drag out the suffering so long. When you have people very quickly reflecting back to you reality and what you're capable of, you move the speed at which you move through pain or hardship or just a crappy situation or a client screwing you over or whatever the thing is amplified so much. So it's why that's why I've been running masterminds now for 12 years because of that. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Because a lot of people will be like, no, I'm in a good season or, or it's a tough time. I don't really know if I have the capacity. It's like, no, both of those are scenarios where you want to be surrounded.
There's reasons why you should, right?
Exactly. I never go a minute of my career without having that network of people that sometimes, like, I didn't want anyone near me when I was going through. I was like, close the door, don't want to talk to anybody.
Yep.
But that's when I needed them most. Yeah. And that's when they could like speak truth into me when I just couldn't see it for myself.
Yeah, what I found the hard way was the greatest way to scale is actually building relationship with people. And you're 1 or 2 relationships away or intros away, getting whatever you need.
It's so true.
Right? But you're such on an island, you put your head in the sand and you're many times knee deep in crocodiles trying to figure it out that's the first thing you cut. Because I'm going to cut relationships. I don't have time for it.
Yeah, exactly. I see it all the time with people when they get in a tight spot. They're like, I can't invest right now. I got to conserve, right? I don't have the time. I have too much going on. It's like, oh, you do what you got to do, but you're going to pay for this.
Because you don't have time is probably why you need to do this, right?
Exactly.
So parting remarks, it's been an absolute honor to have you, Liz. So parting remarks for people watching this, either like, hey, I have this something I'm passionate about. I want to turn that into something that's profitable, or whatever you would say to people watching this.
There is so much pressure that we put on ourselves when we set a goal. Like, I'm a goal-oriented person. I'm 3 on the Enneagram. I like to have something to focus on. But what I would remind people is take the pressure off the goal. We have to be kind of emotionally detached from the outcome of the things that we feel emboldened to pursue, but like completely married and passionate and enveloped in who we need to be in the process of getting there, because we can't control the end result or the timeline, but it's usually not about the thing we thought it was in the first place. Hey, about just take the step, right? Like just start pursuing, because I can't tell you how many things, Sean, that I thought that was the thing. This is my big next. And it was like, no, I just had to be led down that path to meet this person who led me down this path and then encounter this hardship that led me down this path. And now I'm on the path. Yeah. So just take the steps, take the risks, pursue the thing, and know that like the fruit is in the pursuit. Like just in being willing to do those things, you will very quickly understand why. And the reason why might be you were never meant to do that thing. It was really this over.
Contrast, bring clarity.
Yeah, totally.
Bring us home, Maylee.
Yeah, well, I would say an ending remark sounds like to me that I'll leave with an interesting quote from Steve Jobs, right? You can never connect the dots looking forward and only connecting the dots looking backwards.
Yes.
Right?
So true.
I feel like that is the story of all of us, and we just don't recognize that. And we're so grateful to have you. Thank you for joining us at the X Room. This has been an absolute pleasure. We're obviously at Club Paddocks today. Give us a like, a thumbs up, ring that bell, and make sure you subscribe to our channel. And give us the comments. If you liked what Liz had to offer, if you want to hear more from any of our podcasters, please let us know the content that you would like. The channels below.
So powerful.
Thank
you so much.